Hey everyone, I'm going to be breaking down a game, well, a well-known indie game that stole my heart. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing and or making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears, of the Level Design Lobby. So thank you very much for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all with me and listening, whether this be morning, evening, or night. So thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Now, the indie game I was talking about, if those of you who follow me on Twitter will know, or we talk up on Patreon, I finally finished, probably about, I want to say a month ago now, I finished Undertale and Deltarune. And honestly, I was blown away by these. For those of you who probably know, you probably have heard of Undertale because it was one of the big indie games, I think, that came about and definitely made a stamp on why indie games are very important and the impact of indie games. There were others as well, but I definitely think Undertale was one of those big benchmarks. Now, for me, I had bought this on PC, but I just never got into it. And then finally I got it on Switch. And again, I didn't play it for a little bit. And then I saw a stream of the beginning. And it wasn't until they left the beginning area and went to Snowdon, for those of you who know of it, that I got caught into, okay, well, this seems very interesting. And then got into it and really into it. Now, before we continue, there is going to be spoilers on this. So if you do want to play it or have not played it, then I do actually recommend that you go play it before listening to this, because I think that's super important. And I do recommend it because it is a great game and one worth experiencing. Another reason it's brought back up is because of the most recent... stumbling on my words there. But what I was meant to say was the recent release of Deltarune Chapter 1, which came out earlier this year, which again I just finished not long ago and not soon after completing Undertale, because I was just so engrossed in this world and the mechanics behind it. And it's just been something that I've just found so amazing to see. I hope to one day go off and make my own indie game. To see this is a fantastic example of what you can do. And again, for long-time listeners, you know how I feel about reflecting the story and characterization through game mechanics and how important that is. And I think this is one of the best examples of why it should be done and how important it is to do this and the impact it can have on the players when you actually follow through with mechanics meeting story. So it is a fantastic one. If you do want to pick it up, I do recommend either grabbing it on Steam or for your Nintendo Switch if you're on the go like me. It's just 100% worth getting. Deltarune Chapter 1 is free, but I do recommend that you play Undertale first before you jump in and play Undertale. I strongly recommend doing that. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to be breaking down a few things. Undertale isn't exactly known for its level design, and that's okay. It's not what's there. It's primarily a 2D game. I wouldn't even say a platformer. The traversal mechanics, there's none. You just move. There's a couple of puzzles. And when I'm saying this is not to insult the game. This is just stating that I won't be coming at this from a level design perspective. Instead, I'm coming in about this from an overall design, overall game design, and overall theories of this. Now, for those of you who have been with me for a while, you'll know that I actually wrote an article about Undertale already. There'll be a link of that down in the description below. And that's talking about why the opening of Undertale is so impactful and how it really plays on our social grooming and how we've been brought up and subverts that experience that we have from our grooming. And even from the get-go, I think it's fantastic with it all. Now, with that said, let's just go straight through this. I have a few topics I want to be discussing, such as enemy design, interactions, whether that be through the combat, as well as how you interact with characters just through talking as well. And then how the characters are reflected within their combat mechanics. talk about Sans in particular, and then finally the impact of choice. I don't think there's ever been a game, in my opinion, that has had such an impact on choice, even to go as far as the fact that even if you were to save to restart your game, it will still know this. So I think there's a big thing on that one there. So now with that going through it, let's just go straight into it. One of the biggest things about Undertale is the fact that you have the choice on how you interact with the world. And not necessarily the world, but the characters who inhabit it. And this comes in the form of, do you attack the enemies like a traditional RPG? Or do you solve your conflicts through words, even running away? These sort of things that impact your overall game, impact the ending and much more. But the first thing I want to talk about is the vast array of characters in there. One of the things that I think is really important to state with all the characters, not even just the main ones, I think there's a great one, is like everyone in this world is flawed. What I mean by that is whether that have fear, insecurities, uncertainties, all of these characters that you see have some sort of emotional hang-up, shall we say. And because of this, I think that's what makes these characters more relatable. Because as playing a child, you land in the world of monsters. And for us, we picture monsters, again, through social grooming, we picture them as these terrifying, most certain about their purpose. A monster is there to hunt and kill, it is to steal, it is all of these things. They are set with such purpose. There is no reasoning with monsters because of the fact that they are so certain on what is it they need to do. But take us as humans, one of the best things about traditional storytelling is hero's journey. There's always that conflict that happens where the hero is uncertain if they have to follow through, and are they a hero? Are they able to do this? And this is what they show within the world of Undertale. Every enemy, not even enemy, every creature that you encounter has uncertainty. Whether that be their attacks, their looks, their position in the world, will they achieve their goals? All of this. Except probably Sans, but like I said, we'll get on to Sans later. And I think that's a great thing to make these characters firstly feel relatable. Because you can flirt with some of them because they're self-conscious in how they look. You can laugh at some of their jokes because they're kind of unsure if they're funny or not. All of this plays a role into it. Whether that be, other ones uncertain with sexuality as well. These play an element into the characters. And I think that's what also makes things relatable. What makes us unsure if we should attack the enemies as we go on. Because when you inspect different characters, you start to see that they're flawed. And I think as soon as you understand that people have flaws, you gain empathy for them. And this is a quick side topic of this, but I'm currently playing through Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm almost done with it now. It has taken me way too long, but life got in the way. But think about that of Sora. Sora is a very good character, I think. I've enjoyed playing as him and growing up with him as well from the very first Kingdom Hearts. But notice how Sora never really falters. Now, yes, he has a doubt in certain parts of different points of game, but you never experience that. You see it through a cutscene, and it normally doesn't last long because then you as the player are set to rebuild and focus on the positivity. And I think sometimes that's what makes Sora hard to relate to, because as we go through day-to-day life and things push us and oppress us, we get angry. We either snap, we either break down, we lose our cool, we lock up and shy away from what is going on. And I think that's great because I feel like sometimes these monsters here have more relatable characteristics than say, of someone like Sora. Now that we've talked about this, let's break down their actual design in terms of combat. Let's talk about one of the characters known as Aaron. Aaron, for those of you who don't know who that is a muscular seahorse. He's one of my favorites. But he, as you can imagine, for being so shred city, is someone that has extreme confidence. So when you flex with Aaron, because that's one of the options, you can do many of the things, you attack him. One of the things that gives you the options that is unique to Aaron is to flex. Flex your muscles. Let's see the gun show. Don't worry, the safety's on. But one of the great things with this is as you begin to flex, he flexes more, and you can repeat this action until eventually he flexes himself off the screen. And that is how you win the encounter. But what I like about this is the fact that, again, this shows the characteristic, is that Aaron, this character, loves the idea of flexing so much that he doesn't want to be beaten, that he flexes so hard that, he goes away. And I really enjoy that, the fact that he is competitive to get into good shape. A lot of people do it for competition, for health. They reflects that. But not only that, but one of the attacks of his is that you see that these arms come down the panel, flexing and showing the gun show. So again, showing that he relies on brute strength. Reflecting, again, what's important to him is his arms and how he can beat you. So just with these two moves here, that we can gain a characteristics of what he is and how he thinks and embodies himself within this world. And that there is a brilliant thing. And again, a great part of that also is the fact that you have to learn each of these characters' styles and moves. Another character that we can take from this is Flowery. I hope it's that one right. But Flowery, what's great about this one, and again, we can talk about it as an overall character throughout, but what you like this is you get to understand it as a liar right off the bat. But also there's more to it when you complete the game. So he lies and says that you should run into these love petals, to help you heal up. But that's a lie. These petals cause you as player damage. So now we know that he is a liar because he's done this. It's not as he just throws in a situation in a cutscene, but because we've interacted with him, that's made us build trust as well. Because we're like, oh, for most players, first time I know I did it first time, I was like, oh, okay, it's a flower, it's a trustworthy creature, and then you get cut. But what's also when you break it all down later on and complete and find out who Flowery is, you understand that that's what Flowery's been craving, is love. So although he mentions it to trick you, he's also wanting love himself. And that's a really important thing. Again, showing how as we break down these characters, that they have their motives and what they rely on as characteristics. Now, that's just great there, showing again their characteristics. But what I do like about this is then the actual sense of mastery coming with each of these interactions. You have to make sure that you understand these patterns, because these patterns of attack will appear again as most games, monsters and character archetypes will come up throughout as you play. So you've got to master these mechanics. But what's even better is then when you mix the two together. So we might get Aaron, as I mentioned earlier, but another character, and then you have to see how they combine their attacks together in order for you to best dodge this. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper onto the actual combat setup itself, because I think this is a very important one. Because a lot of the things it talks about is to do with love and opening yourself up. And what a great way to show vulnerability by you actually having control of your avatar's heart. Heart has been such a great representation of health throughout games, throughout our medium. But to have it where now you actually move it, I think that's crazy in a great way. I think that's so positive to see, because now, not is it just something like we see in old school Zelda with the hearts up top of the screen, corner of the screen. Like, oh no, that's gone down. But now we're actually controlling it. We have the visual representation, and we understand how vulnerable we are as well. Showing back to Avatar as a small child. By having us move the heart around, again, we gain a bigger sense of impact. Because of the fact that we understand that there is an organ beating inside of us, pumping blood around, that if there's anything to reach us past, our skin, rib cage, all of these mechanisms and defenses around the heart, like you get hit in a normal game, okay, I can bleed a little bit, that's fine. But when your heart's there and knowing that when that gets hit, I definitely felt a bigger sense of, one, vulnerability, but two, urgency, that I can't make these mistakes so much, because if I do, then I'm definitely going to be dead. And I think that's one of the most important things there is, not only do we see the characters' movement through all the diverse range that they have, but also through, your character representation. The fact that we don't play as the little boy or girl, depending on which gender you choose, or, even how you view that character, we just have the heart of it. That just takes us away from everything and just understands that we are quite weak. And all of that setup, I think, is just a fantastic and really educational, in terms of emotional design, that I think is just a very impactful one. You're literally wearing your heart on your sleeve. I don't know why I tapped my wrist to represent sleeve, but there we are. You now heard it. So I think there's a great things to dive. I could even dive deeper on these, but maybe we'll come back to that for a second part of this.
Love games? Love game design? We do too. So why not help us here at Level Design Lobby spread the word? With Patreon, from as little as $1 per month, you can do just that. And new for 2019, we have more reward tiers and even more awesome perks on offer, such as access to our community Discord, level design weekends, exclusive talks by professional designers, one-on-one sessions, and much more. Sound interesting? Then head on over to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support today. As always, we'd like to say a massive thank you to all the game gurus who've backed us so far. It's thanks to your generous support that we can continue to grow, pursue new opportunities, and bring you new, awesome, and exciting content. So thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
But another thing we can talk about with the characters is the main cast themselves. It's not just these cool side characters. Well, one of the reasons it's so popular is the characters that you interact with within this world. So let's talk about one, and one of the most popular ones, that is Papyrus. Papyrus, for those of you who don't know, is by far one of the most lovable characters, to say the very least, in this game. He is just a true bundle of joy. And when you begin to meet him, he sets up a bunch of traps for you. Oh, sorry, I've skipped ahead a bit. He wants to be part of the Royal Guard, which his task is to capture humans and take them to the king. But he is not part of the Royal Guards, that's what he wants to do, so in hopes of capturing a human, he'll be able to then become a member of the Royal Guard. However, when he starts to meet you, he kind of has an inner conflict about doing this, because deep down he's really a pacifist. He doesn't like combat. And he sets up these elaborate traps for you, whether you be that of the pacifist or the genocide run. But you can see from these traps that they're not very well done, and that he doesn't really want to harm you, even to the point where when he finally actually has you ready to be, essentially be beaten, he calls it off. And not only this is the great through building of the narrative, but when it comes into the actual boss battle itself, it's there. It's really there and present in it. Because the first few attacks, should I say, you can just keep your heart just raised slightly above what would be the halfway of the box. and you're not going to get damaged. And heck, even his big, powerful attack involves you not doing anything. Again, reflecting how he actually doesn't want to hurt you. Reflecting how this combat is a tough and tricky one in turmoil for him. Now, eventually his moves will cause damage to you, and will even change how you play by changing your heart to blue. Therefore, your amount of movement is now restricted. But the great thing from this is the fact that, he, like I said, his attacks keep very restricted kind of sense to match how he doesn't actually want to hurt anyone. That's not in his character, that's not in his nature. Again, reflecting of that through him. Even to the great point of the Genesis run, he still wants to be friends and show that he doesn't even want to hurt you. And again, just a great way of reflecting on how his emotions are caught up in it all, with the example of his attacks as well. And I really do appreciate that there in the design, showing his motives within the game through the movement and attack pattern of Papyrus himself. And again, I really did enjoy this, which is sad right now because I actually wanted to talk more about this, but looking at the time and how busy I am with work and stuff, I'm actually not going to be able to talk much more about this. However, this does mean instead that we're going to have a second episode talking about Undertale and talking about some more of the great things. Because here I've just kind of rattled a few things off the top of my head. I think there's even more that we can be broken down with the design as well. So I think you got that to look forward to. And I'm looking forward to doing the episode come next month as well, because following this week will be an interview with some amazing guests. So that'll be there for us all. But yeah, I think that's some of the joy of this game. The impact of choices, the design of the combat, whether that be the display of how we see our avatar in combat, the change of it, how each of these characters has flaws and their motives are reflected within the combat patterns, and how our interactions are there with the enemy as well. So all of those things help to make a very strong narrative, and also make us care about these characters as well, and just builds these characters correctly. I think there's a lot to learn from how to build a character with these mechanics, with their whole combat patterns. And hopefully this hasn't ruined Undertale if you haven't played it, because I do strongly recommend that you play this. It is one of those games that I just, got me thinking about a lot of things later on. So I really, do hope that you get a chance to play it. And honestly, I could not recommend it even more. I've been trying to tell my best friend Steven to play it, so hopefully I'm going to give him a nudge after this to tell him to play again. But yeah, I cannot recommend this enough. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about more of this one. But hopefully you've seen how, again, mechanics can help not just tell a stronger narrative, in my opinion, but also get across characters' personality and make us feel even more vulnerable in a certain sense as well. So yeah, if you do have any comments about Undertale and want to know more about it, then please do contact me. The way that you can reach out to me, and lovely me, is through the power of Twitter at MaxPairs, where I tweet bite-sized level design tips. If you want to email into the show, then please do so at leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And then I actually want to give a shout out, speaking of Aaron's, I want to give a shout out, I'm really struggling with my words today, a big shout out to Aaron Clift. Thank you for emailing in, and you asked me to talk about Trover Saves the Universe. Sadly, I do not have VR to play this, but I will look into hopefully getting one from the office or something, or see if any friends have it to talk about it, because it is a game that I'm excited to see more of. But thank you for emailing in. I really do appreciate it, mate. If you all do want to support the podcast, please do head on over to patreon.com/leveldesignlobby, where you can get more awesome tips as well as perks, and join the great community, because that's what makes Level Design Lobby so special, is the community and all the amazing people on Discord. I cannot appreciate and thank you all enough. Okay, we're going to wrap things up here, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye-bye.